Today we're going to read Big Toe Tries Again. So let's see what he gets up to this time. Big Toe was looking over a list of incarcerated possibilities to form a new gang. He wasn't sure what particular crime he wanted to commit, so was looking for people who were versatile. One unfortunate aspect of his previous attempts was that he had left his gangs in jail. That kind of word gets around quickly, so few were willing to join up with a leader who didn't have their back. He just used you, then gave you the boot. What was needed for an enticement was a challenge that offered high return with a minimum outlay, a good to excellent chance of success, plus a bit of danger thrown in. Big Toe had an excellent knowledge of the criminal psyche and what would entice. For most, it was a challenge with just a hint of danger. It was fighting against the odds and winning that drove some of the best. Make the game worth playing, they come running. While not a master of disguise, Big Toe was able to distinguish himself from the commissioner by the simple expedient of dress, changing his walk and posture. In fact, his whole demeanor changed when he was a Big Toe. Walking around near the artistic district, he saw that the Footsum Art Gallery was going to have an exhibit of the works by Van Gogh, beg your pardon. As he was wandering by, he heard two men talking. Frankly, Tom, I'd like to get my hands on one of the Van Goghs myself. Tom shrugged. I don't blame you, Scott, but they're sure investment. But how? They don't come on sale often. The rest are guarded pretty tight. Scott looked around and seeing only Big Toe sleeping and apparently asleep, he continued. Guarded pretty tight, that's it. Usually they are, but when they have the exhibit here, they won't have as much security as in the big galleries. And he was sending out his best known works. That's what makes it work. If I get my hands on, let's say, his painting of shoes, it would make my collection almost complete. I tell you, I'd pay big bucks with no questions asked for it. Stern motioned for silence as he shook his head, and the two walked away. Big Toe woke from his supposed snooze and followed the men. Separating 3 blocks later, Scott went down a tree-lined street heading towards a mansionette. Scott was placing his key in the lock. His movement was forestalled by a hand on his arm. Scott turned to face a tall, strongly built man in a tailored suit, whose face was obscured by an ornate wool scarf. Big Toe came right to the point. I overheard your desire for one of the paintings arriving soon, the one titled Shoes. I believe you said that was the one you wanted? Scott ushered the man aside and offered him a drink. Glasses in hand, the conversation continued. Big Toe continued from where he had left off. If the painting was located and brought to you, I was curious as to how much remuneration you would offer for it. The man was interested but cautious. And how would you procure this painting? Big Toe smiled and a throaty chuckle came from behind his scarf. I believe you stated that no questions would be asked. The man looked with irritation at a portion of his wall that was empty. He had a fine collection of the works of masters, and Van Gogh was conspicuous in its absence. Shonen would make an excellent addition. Well, would 500,000 be suitable bequest? Big Toe rose and held out his hand. The two men had made a pact. Big Toe had a new caper. His gang would have a new challenge, and he'd be well paid for their efforts. And he would have seed money for future crimes. On leaving, he walked back to his office. On the way, he thumbed through a notebook of possible members to recruit. He wanted Harry back, and now. Getting him out was just a question of more money, but getting him to want to work with him again was more of a question. Harry was released soon after, and Big Toe met with the collector. Big Toe had the idea that they needed to meet in a neutral space. They went to his office. It would seem as if Big Toe was asserting his authority. That kind of influence was out of place for this meeting. Instead, they met in the park, sitting with a chessboard between the two of them to discuss future. Big Toe offered his opening gambit. Harry, I got you out so we could discuss the future. Harry countered with, do we have a future? Big Toe could tell by the timbre of Harry's voice that this was going to be difficult. Look, I got you out first so we could decide who of the others you would need for the next job. I still have faith in you and the others, and I have a job lined up that will net you 20,000 each. You hoped the amount was enough to bring Harry around. It wasn't. Well, you pocket the lion's share, of course, and we take the fall with nothing to show for it. Okay, how does 35,000 each sound and 55 going to you as the lead? Harry was weakening at the sums named. Well, what's the job? Stealing a painting from the local art museum. Picasso exhibit is coming soon. I already have the buyer lined up. Harry sat in contemplation a while. Well, we could do the job, no problem, but what about Soleman Flats and Sergeant Podolsky? Big Toe had already thought about the two main problems. Well, they won't trouble you. You have my word. Big Toe's word left something to be desired, but with $50,000 on the line, it was worth a chance. Get the guys out. I'll check in tomorrow with the gang. He left without noticing the outstretched hand. So that's it for right now. We're going to continue on with this one tomorrow. Or next time I do a reading, we'll have 2 chapters because the next one's kind of short. So that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you again in our next reading. Be good to yourself, and take it easy. Bye.